So the bottom line is that once you start working with attorneys, their bar is kind of low. In other words, if you do what you say when you say you're going to do it and communicate with them regularly, they're pretty happy campers. And the key to keeping a good relationship with them, I have found that I go to lunch with the attorneys and fiduciaries that I work with. I go to lunch with each of them at least once a quarter, and it's really interesting. We always swap war stories. This transaction did this, or I can't even believe what those guys did, and it's very strange. But the point is they're just like the rest of us. The key, if you want to get started in something like this, is to learn about probates and trusts, learn about some of the key terms involved. The representative capacity signature disclosure is a big form that we just got in, 2 years ago at CAR. If you're doing probates, the Independent Administration of Estates Act is a big deal. You need to learn about letters of testamentary, when the Superior Court files them, etc. When, there's a lot of things that have to happen. Trustees and trusts are very interesting. A very good way to go is as soon as you even have a hint of, doing business with someone in a trust, you got to get a preliminary title report, because trusts and the way they're entitled, I would say at least 40% of the time there's a problem with the title before we can even get started. And 25% of the time it's going to take months, not weeks, to repair it. So it's kind of interesting. And but keeping in communication with the attorneys, sending them cards and notes, and then going to lunch with them on a regular basis. Same thing with fiduciaries. That's a big deal. And I have found that if you do that, they're very loyal. That does not mean that you're going to get every deal that they are involved with, but I would say there's probably 7 attorneys and or fiduciaries that I am absolutely their first choice. And if they could do business with me, they would. And, over time, that's been great. And what that does for me at my advanced age is that I can do a good amount of business every year without spending a tremendous amount of time with a giantly huge database. I still keep in touch with the rest of my database, but these guys are my priority, and it's paid off.
That's really great. And it's so nice to hear that it really is who you know, right? So I want to know, like, what are you doing right now in this market of the moment with your attorneys? Are you how are you reaching out to them right now, or are you focusing on your sphere of influence?
I am reaching out to all the attorneys. I have contacted each and every one and tried to set up lunches. I have also used the switch from Windermere over to Keller Williams as an excuse to tell them I'm redoing my marketing materials. Could I get a testimonial from you? And each and every one of them has responded positively, and I've gotten 10 in so far. So this is all good stuff to me because it requires several calls and several emails, and it just further enhances the relationship. And
Mhm.
then as soon as and what I'm doing now is, of course, we can't set up appointments for lunches. I'm just planting the seeds, saying, when this is over, we're going to lunch on me, let's go. And each one of them seems to have their favorite restaurant. I seem to frequent Left Bank and Steamers a lot, and it just works. So when we get back together, it'll just be kind of like, what's going on,
Mhm.
like nothing has changed.
Okay, so that's great. And so I love the idea that you're using your move to KW as an opportunity to let your clients know it's a touch, and then also asking for the testimonial. That's wonderful. And then, setting up lunch appointments, you're really just putting the bug in their ear and you're not setting up any dates, or have you done any planning to do it through something like Zoom?
You know what? That's interesting. No, we haven't done that. Although I was on Zoom with 2 attorneys this morning, but for a different reason.
Hmm.
Um, the What we're doing now is I'm just saying, listen, the minute the SIP is lifted, we're getting lunch that week. So let's plan on it. And they've all said yes. And of course, I'm going to definitely follow up. I mean, these are people that I don't have very many that are new. Nobody that I've worked with is under, say, a year or so old. And I've done, oh, minimum 3 or 4 transactions, which with each and every one of them, and some of them 30 or 40 deals.
Hmm. That's wonderful. So, how often have you contacted these attorneys leading up to the market of the moment?
Leading up to the market of the moment, well,
Right.
my
Like
standard
how
of practice
often?
is these guys get a phone call a month. They get a item of value a month. They get an email backing up the item of value from the Vafidi program, and then they also get a handwritten note from me. But but the cool thing about attorneys is that they have problems related to real estate, whether it's your transaction or a deal they're involved with that they had no control over. So I get phone calls from them a lot and emails from them a lot about getting them deeds. So you need a good relationship with your title company. Sometimes I need to get a chain of title immediately, get a preliminary title report. Again, a good relationship. KB and Chicago Title have been just fabulous for me. So those are the kind of things that cement the relationship, because he'll say, gosh, I need the vesting deed for this because I'm changing their trust. It has nothing
Mhm.
to do with selling a house.
Right.
They need my services. I respond quickly, and they go, "Gosh, that Rick, it's like it's like he only works for me." Well,
Right.
that's not the case. But these are easy tasks to do, and they take very little time. But it's a big it's a big time saver for them, and they can count on me.
Mm,
So when they need real estate services for their clients, I'm usually the first person they think of, and that
that's
helps a lot.
that's wonderful. Thank you, Rick. Does anybody have any questions for Rick? And if you want to unmute yourself, just press the space bar and it'll temporarily unmute you. Scott?
Hey, quick question, Rick. When you take these guys out to lunch, you're picking up the tab, I assume, right?
I pick up the tab every time. However, each and every attorney has at least once or twice said, "No, no, I'm getting this one," and that's fine. But the vast majority, I mean, I always try to, but every once in a while they'll snag it and say, "No, I'm getting it this time."
Yeah, and it's money well spent.
Oh, hey, they're not whack jobs. These are fun people.
That's great. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate that. Don't leave yet, though, because something else might come up.
I'm sticking around.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Shannon, are you ready now? You're still muted.
I'm ready, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I understand that you've got an escrow that you've been working on trying to save. It's on life support, and so that was yesterday's conversation. But just real quick, because I know that you rushed from that to here. How are you doing? Is it falling into place?
I'm good. Right now everything's just taking a lot longer. I think we um similar to a previous market that, I mean, obviously what we're going through is unprecedented, and I have been through like the short sale world in '07 through 10. And so I feel like it's very similar. You really do have to pivot and shift and just change your behaviors immediately. If we had great behaviors before and they worked in that environment, those same great behaviors might not work in a new environment. And some of them will, right? But we live in a high priced area and things move really quickly compared to other areas. I mean, you just think about, generally speaking, about the car contract and how it's written. It is not written for Silicon Valley style real estate, right? Like
Right.
17-day contingencies and 21-day loan and things like that. So right now, as far as transactions are going, yeah, everything's taking a lot longer. What used to be maybe 2 or 3 2-minute phone calls are like 8 45-minute phone calls.
Right. 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 Well, good luck with everything that you're working on, and
Thanks.
thanks for being here today. So, what tips do you have to share, and what is it that you're doing personally in this market of the moment? Because, like you said, everything's changing like every day. So, how are you communicating with your sphere?
Sure. Similar to Rick, I do have a new pillar that I've been working on for a couple of years that it is related to attorneys. It's family law attorneys for divorce. So that's just a piece of a pillar that I'm continuing to work, because I think that not only have I put 2 years into it, but here we are in a circumstance that more divorces is probably going to happen now. We're all under stressful environments, right? So,
Are you saying this is a stressful time?
Are you saying being crowded in one house for a long time?
so anyway, that's something I'm keeping on track, and maintaining. But what I've done to shift truly is, I mean, any of you who know me, I'm more introverted. Unless you know me well, then I'm extroverted, but picking up the phone and calling somebody I don't know is very uncomfortable to me, as it is for everybody, right? But we all make a decision to do it so that we have business in any environment. And in this environment, I really am trying to find people that have something that's important to them that I can help them with.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I mean by that, and I said this to, I think, Celsa yesterday, is, find the people that matter and then find out what matters to them and help them with that. And so social media is a really great place right now to see what is important to other people, whether it's, meme posts. There are underlying messages in people's posts, whether that's they're having fun, they're being serious, they have, health issues, whatever it is, it's being posted. And if you are friends with these people and can dig a little deeper and just reach out and see how you can help them. I mean, if we're not doing real estate per se, but like, I'm definitely front of mind with people. It's a different kind of triage than dealing with the transaction, but it's like, oh, you need whatever. I mean, not toilet paper, but that's a funny example just because everybody was so stressed about it, right? But like, if people are really out of toilet paper, then I have neighbors, I have other clients that have excess, like I'll go run around and do that.
Right. So
Right.
can you give us an example of like what your phone call might be for somebody who, let's say that they do need toilet paper? Like, what would your phone call be, or how would you find that out?
Yeah. Hi, Edith. It's Shannon. How are you?
Good, Shannon. How are you?
I'm hanging in there considering the circumstances. I was
I
just
know.
calling to see what's going on with you and your family. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing pretty good. The kids are kind of on a short leash with the school stuff, and the hubby's doing great working from home. But I got to tell you, it's kind of crazy out there at the markets. There's no toilet paper. Like, I saw all these memes about toilet paper being just snatched up, and I'm kind of in the need. So it's stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, you know what? I actually, let's just say it wasn't toilet paper, right? It was something else. Like, think about that. I want you guys to think about this. Like, imagine it being something else.
Well, I
Um,
could say, how about,
well, we can keep going. Edith, that's actually, I'm really
yeah.
sad to hear that. Let me see what I can do to maybe help you out. Couple ideas also, just before I hang up, to go kind of see what I can stir up for you. I saw a link yesterday on Amazon for bidets. Like, that might be an option going forward, because who knows how long we're going to be locked down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we could minimize the squares we're using,
Right.
right? I mean, it sounds silly. But the other thing is, if washer and dryer is working and we maybe have to get out our wash rags and do a little more laundry, that might be what we have to do. But let me post something on my Facebook to a couple of people that I know who were able to get into Costco, and see if I can't grab you a 6-pack or something.
That's wonderful, Shannon. That's really nice, because you are addressing exactly what their need is, and you've given them some solutions.
And then I probably would just like find the link to something on Amazon to send the bidet, link, and have them be able. Scott. Scott has 3 at his house.
Did you just say that?
But anyway, I mean, you kind of get the idea that it's like just seeing how you can help them. I mean, I called somebody the other day and their window was broken, and they didn't even know it was broken, but it was like, okay, well, let me find a glacier that's still working or that will manage something. And that phone call back is really cool to make, because it's Joe Stump has a acronym that he used, and one of you in this room has got to remember what it is, but the acronym is BRAG. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like build it up, repeat, whatever. And then the G is like go for the appointment or the ask of the referral or whatever. But that brag, it literally is bragging about what you did for them, right? So that phone call back to you might be, hey, I posted that on Facebook, like I mentioned, and I had 3 people respond to me. I had some conversations with those people. And in about an hour, I'm going to be able to drive over, pick up a 6-pack, and I'll just drop it on your front doorstep, so that I'm keeping in check with the social distancing issues, right? So, and that whole story that I get to tell you that I did that's what's really powerful, is because people aren't going to forget that.
And and I love that, right? Because it's like, it's one of those, it shows that the value that you bring, that it's beyond real estate, that it really is the connection. So while you're talking with people, like, do you bring up real estate? Like, are you looking to buy or sell? Or do you just go for the I care phone call?
I care phone call. I mean, you know me, I'm a high S. But I also think that just like March 1st, if you call somebody, real estate always comes up, right? And since March 17th, that part hasn't changed. So, people know you're in real estate, and if they don't, it's a good time to just tell them the stresses you're having. Like, oh, real estate shut down, and this is right. Like, you're still talking about it. I mean, I've shared this story a million times, but my husband and I used to go to dinner parties, and he used to get so irritated that we ended up talking about real estate all the time, like to the point where we made a game where I'm like, I'm not going to talk about real estate. And it still comes up because people want to know, right? And it really affects people's lives. I mean, those people that that own real estate, it is the largest asset they have, and it's their lives are going to be affected by this one way or another, right? With stimulation or not stimulation, stimulant. Sorry, you know me, I'm like crazy right now.
Right. So have you found? Because I've always found if I make a phone call, it always comes back to how are you? How's the market? And is that what you're finding out as well?
Exactly.
And are you able to are you on the phone calls at all in the morning with Mark on his updates?
Every morning, because it is critical information. Each one of us has different unique circumstances. I mean, the call this morning was like, could get a little tense because some people want to work and some people don't. And there's circumstances around all of that. Right?
Yeah.
Some people, not in our industry. I mean, waiters and hairstylists and nail salons, they got shut down real fast, right? And there's question in our industry, and I think we do need to proceed with caution as it relates to health risks, and it's not always about you. It's the people who are 6 feet away from you or 3 feet away from you. It's not all about us. Like, we might be healthy and feel like we can go out, but we still need to be mindful of how we might be affecting somebody else. Whether that's fear or paranoia. I mean, I've got a raspy cough for 3 weeks now, because I had nasal surgery, and I just have like a rough voice and I'm coughing. And like when I'm around people, they're freaked out if I'm coughing, I'm not sick. I don't have a temperature, I just have a dry throat right now. And all this extra talking isn't helping.
I know, but I do know how you feel about that, because I have my asthmatic cough. And, and so I do, whenever I cough, people kind of freak, because I just went to the grocery store yesterday, and, it really made me super hyper aware do
Yeah.
not be close to people, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, because if somebody else was copying, I think I'd freak out too. I just happen
Yeah.
to know mine's okay. Um, oh, that's great, Shannon. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Was there anything else that you wanted to say in particular?
I mean, I think right now, you just have to do what you can do and what you're comfortable with. And I mean, can I see like a raise of hands of who was on the call this morning? Just curious. Like raise your hand in the on the system.
If you guys go down into, is it participants on yours?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then on the if you open that up on the bottom under more, it should say raise hand, right?
So a lot of people. Okay, yeah. Okay, you can put your hands down now so Edith doesn't call on you. So just as an example, like obviously our brokerage needs to protect our brokerage and our industry. And I think that the message of, we need to hunker down and not do business versus the message of we have vacant properties and maybe one person goes in a day and that's it, right? To minimize and be mindful. But at the end of the day, each of us individually as independent contractors need to make decisions for our own selves and our families. And it does need to consider these circumstances and being mindful of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, absolutely, if we break the law and we get sued for it, our E&O doesn't cover us, but maybe you make that decision because you're going to pay for your E&O if something happens,
Mm-hmm.
or you feel so confident that what you're doing isn't going to hold up in a mediation or arbitration or whatever, we also can't run around living in fear of that. So I think I understand both sides of it. And I think it's important for everybody to hear that because from a real agent that's working, because you might not hear that from some of our leaders.
Right. And because our leaders, they have to lead us in the direction that's safe for us, for our clients, and for the company, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, the experienced agents have a little bit of, will have experience in this and know how much they want to push the line, right?
Yeah.
The envelope. But I would say that the standard would just be don't show properties, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on another mastermind call and somebody literally said they drove up to, it was a vacant home. They drove up to the home. They unlocked the house, got in their car. Buyer went in the house. Buyer got in their car. Agent locked the door back up, got in their car, talk on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they kept their distance while they were there together. However, what was going on in the property, because we don't know how long,
right.
the germs stay, right? So, so here, Brian, so what are some prospecting tips that agents have used during this time that have been successful? Thank you, Brian. So Shannon, when you're talking with your clients, then it sounds very much like, it's the I care conversation and building the relationships. And it sounds like you've had a really good response with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, last week we went from a client who wanted to go on the market, to not go on the market, to going on the market, not going on the market. And then, okay, let's do it. So Friday night at 10 p.m. we're on the market, and then expecting showings potentially over the weekend. He was going to leave for, hours. And so it can lead to good conversations. I mean, but it took conversations every day to get him there.
Right.
And being on those 9 a.m. calls, what for me was really helpful to hear what other people are doing, to just offer those suggestions to your seller or maybe your buyer if, you're doing that. So.
Right. All right. So,
but as far as prospecting, I mean, I think like the other piece of what we're doing is, as you all know, well, not as you all know, but we recently killed Boomtown and 100% went to command. So we're spending some decent amount of time, like getting people on a drip campaign that, asks them to download our app. I mean, how cool is that? Everybody's sitting at home looking at a computer. Like, hey, they get that email, they go start downloading your app and looking at homes like 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, when this is maybe, resolved, then we just captured some great leads for our future. And you got to do that too,
That sounds great. So you're obviously, since you were the technology ambassador, you're obviously using Command, right?
Yeah.
And but you're also, I mean, because you just shut down Boomtown, it totally shows that you you really believe in it and that you like Command, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
having the drip campaigns or the neighborhood nurturers, whatever they're called in Command. So you're doing that in addition to phone calls. And I know that you have a huge database. So I'm assuming you're calling the sphere of influence, right? But what about like the ones that are, that are extended out? They're not the A's or the B's, but extended out. Are you planning on making phone calls to them as well? And then what would you talk about with them?
I mean, that's a tough question. I don't know if I'm going to make those calls. I think like we're just taking it day by day, like literally posted up on the wall what's important today. And if this continues for much longer, absolutely those would be calls I'm making, because those people are getting more and more nervous. And I would want to prep them for being ready when this SIP gets lifted, right?
Right.
I mean, my client that's on the market now that we went on Friday, like one of the things is just keeping him updated every day on our chats in the mornings, so that he knows what's going on in our industry and he can make an informed decision on what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But like, one of the things I keep hearing is there are people who are in contracts that are in rent backs and they need to find replacements, right?
Right.
And so like if there's only 5 homes on the market, that might be the first thing that happens, because everybody usually needs a couple weeks to prep all these things with photographs and inspections. And
Right.
we forwent all of that and just went on.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, the answer is I would call those people and it would be the same conversation, because fast forward 4 weeks and, there's more fear and information that can be shared.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Jelaine had asked if you'd be willing to share the drip campaign.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
Are you able to share screen? Allow me to share my screen?
Let's see.
The little green button on the bottom, it says share screen, the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, but that's sharing my screen. And
Okay.
I didn't prepare to share my screen.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I got things open I don't know if I want you to see. Well, let me see.
I might be able to figure it out for me. Let's see, share.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Shannon.
Yeah. So let's see if we go in. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, we can. How did you do that, by the way?
Past due things. Just down at the bottom of the Zoom, you click on the green share and it'll share. And probably Edith had to approve it or something. But if we go into, I have to remember because Dan does a lot of this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Smart plan.
I thought I saw Dan on.
Oh, yeah. Dan, guide me. Okay, so
Yeah,
smart plans over here on the menu of the applications, right?
Right.
Smart plans. And then there's the promote my app.
Mm-hmm.
This is the plan. It sends an HTML email. There's a 1-day delay. Then it sends a text, 3-day delay, and sends another text. And if you hover over it, you'll see what the text says. Hey, this is Shannon Rose with Rose Group. Did you see that a neighbor listed a home in your area? Download my brand new KW app to check it out. So you could just take this and kind of copy the plan and change the language. Obviously, I don't really know we want to be saying that a neighbor listed a home right now, right? But you could take this and just mimic it and build your own.
Right. Maybe you could say something like, while you're scanning the web or surfing the web, or, you know, while if you're interested, this could be something fun to look at.
Yeah. So like, and there's all kinds of different plans in here, but this is just the people plan called promote my app. Oh, that's weird. But yeah.
So it's basically it's a plan that's already in there. So you didn't make it.
That's correct.
Separate. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And we every time we've added a few people to it, we're getting, you know, feedback. And it gives you activities to do. So like at the end of the day, if I sent out 50 today, this little bell right here would have notifications, or your Keller app on your phone would also, you know, show you the notifications. So you want to be responding to those, because if in our case, a lot of people ask to just be taken off. Well, great. Let me clean up my database.
Right.
What better time than now to do it, you know?
That sounds great. Thank you for sharing that, Shannon.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
that.
See how to figure out and unshare.
Does anybody else have any more questions for Shannon? I could do it for you.
I think I got it. Stop share. Okay.
Yeah. Great. So does anybody have any questions to ask Shannon? Oh, Jelaine wants to know how the listing is going. Can we answer that at the end after we talk with Stefan? Yeah, that'd be great. Just because I want to make sure that we get some other ideas on prospecting and lead gen right now. Does anyone else have any other questions about her prospecting and lead gen? Nope. Okay. All right. All right, Shannon. Thank you so much, and we'll come back to you. Thanks, Jelaine, for asking. Did I hear somebody? No. Okay. All right, Stefan.
I just said thank you to Shannon. That's all.
Oh, Therese, thanks. Okay, Stefan. So, what are you doing right now for prospecting and lead gen in this market of the moment?
I'm planning on a bidet and tequila party at Scott's house.
Well, I think there'll be a lot of people there.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. You know, for me personally, I've kind of broken it down into segments. I spent last week reaching out to clients that were, up until a couple weeks ago, you know, pretty hot to trot to either get a house to the market or get out and buy something, and just figuring out where they were, what they were thinking, how I could help them make determinations on how to move forward. And then over the weekend, I started aggregating data on what happened in the market. So for luxury clients, I looked at activity statewide, and then activity just in Santa Clara County, San Diego County, and put together a spreadsheet, sent that out to them, just to let them know what had been happening in the luxury market. And then
Excuse me, Stefan. I don't know. Does everybody can they hear him clearly, or is it just me? He's breaking up for me?
He's breaking up for me. Sometimes if you turn the video off, it'll make your audio a lot better if you've got a weak connection or something.
Or is this better? Could you hear me better now?
I could understand you better now. Thank you, Stefan.
Okay. Sorry, my signal here is not that great. So should I start over again? Were you able to hear anything of what I was saying?
Could you please?
Okay, cool. So I kind of broke things down into segments in terms of how I was addressing things. I spent last week reaching out to clients that were up until things started going south, very active in the market. Either sellers were getting ready to bring houses to market, or buyers that were, am I still breaking up?
Yeah, you did a little bit for me. Okay. Is everybody else okay? Okay, I see Shannon saying yes.
We can live with it. I mean, it's just a little choppy.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Stefan, continue, please.
All right, I'll just plow through it. So anyways, I was reaching out to clients that were in the market and helping them decide, how they were going to be moving forward. For buyers, obviously, we're not going to be going out and looking at properties. So just strategizing on, how we're going to recognize when opportunities are there again to get back out and start looking at houses and look for opportunities. For sellers, just talking about, adjusting strategy and, figuring out, what are we going to do about current situation? What are we going to do about timing? And really just having conversations about where we are and where we're going. Then this weekend, I started aggregating data to get out to, again, focusing on the clients that were, really aggressive in the market. For my luxury clients, I aggregated data that showed what's been happening really just over the last, at the time, I sent it out on Saturday or Sunday, what had happened last week in the luxury market from a state level and also from a Silicon Valley level. And then for other clients, not necessarily luxury clients, looked at what had happened in our market locally in terms of what's actually selling, price reductions, properties that are coming off the market, and I put together a spreadsheet and I pushed that out to 15, 20 people that I thought could use the data, and got pretty good response on that. And then this week, I've just been reaching out. I'm not pushing out anything on social media. I'm calling, texting, or emailing clients one-on-one, just very personal conversations about how are you doing? Is there anything you need? And just, reaching out and, making that contact to let them know I'm thinking about them and I'm concerned about them. And again, having great conversations from that.
That sounds great. So you're taking care of your current clients by providing them with information of what's going on as it changes, right? So
Right.
definitely keeping them up to date with the market of the moment. And I would assume that they're all really happy to hear that, correct?
For the most part, there are a few that haven't responded that I'm guessing have other priorities right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those that are responding are finding the information really useful.
That's great.
So my
And
plan is to, every weekend, aggregate current data and get it out to the people that I think can use it.
mm-hmm. And then your sphere that's not currently in the market, but they're your sphere, and you have them on a drip campaign. How often do you normally contact them in a regular market?
In a regular market, once a quarter.
Once a quarter, okay. And so, are you contacting everybody then in your sphere right now with the I Care campaign?
Um, I think that the goal is to hit everybody, but right now I'm just focusing on, 3, 4, 5 people a day just to
Mm-hmm.
really, kind of have a meaningful contact with. So I'm not trying to, I'm not using this as an opportunity to, try to market to people. It's really
Mm-hmm.
just more of a, reaching out to people personally. For me, it's got nothing to do with real estate. It's just more, hey, I'm thinking about you.
Mm-hmm. What would a typical phone call sound like?
Phone calls are going to people that I've got more of a deep relationship with, and it's just checking in on people. How are your kids doing? How are you guys doing? Talked to one of my clients yesterday that's CEO of a startup company, and just asking how are things going now that he's in a very deep fundraising mode right now, and now he's stuck at home. So just asking how are those efforts going.
Mm-hmm. And what's the reception that you get?
Very positive. People
Mm-hmm.
are happy to hear from anybody, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
just I think they're happy to hear that someone's out there that cares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any tips that you want to give right now to everybody?
Um, I would say just be really mindful about what you're putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't want anybody being left with the impression that I'm using this as an opportunity to work them. You know, I've seen a lot of social media posts that I think are coming from coaches out there. That, there's several agents that are posting the exact same thing. You know, economic outlooks and whatnot. That I don't know. I think you want to think hard before you post something like that. You know, for
Mm-hmm.
me, that I don't think that leaves the right impression.
Right. Right. It sounds like you and Rick and Shannon are all using the very respectful position, right? Like this is something that's serious, and I'm calling in to check to see how you're doing, and then you're also helping to manage your current client load, right?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm sure there's people out there that are in a desperate situation real estate wise, and they need to make something happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for those people, you know, I don't have anybody that's in that situation. I've got a couple of deals that are ongoing, and I've got one that's supposed to close tomorrow that hopefully we'll get to the finish line. I've got another one that we were supposed to have court dates for an detainer action, which obviously isn't happening. So that one's kind of on hold. For the most part, everybody that I'm dealing with is not a situation where I have to do anything right now. So I don't think they really want to be hearing about, you know, hey, you know, what's going on in your real estate life.
Right.
And you know, I really am being careful about not leaving anyone with the impression that I'm seeing this as an opportunity to work the market and try to generate business.
Right. Right. I love that, and I think that that's something that you know is important, right? Is to make sure people don't see you as like a I don't know, I a bottom feeder or
You know,
something
bottom
like that,
feeder, an
right?
opportunist,
An
you know,
opportunist, right?
for those that are in a situation where they have to make something happen right now, they're making something happen right now. For
Right.
everybody else, I don't think real estate is very high on their priority list.
Right, right. And then Therese had just posted here, posting just listed and sold is not appropriate now. It's offensive. So yeah, I think that, we're in agreement. Thank you, Stefan. I really appreciate
Good.
what you had to say. Does anybody have any questions specifically for Stefan, or do you have any, does anybody here have any ideas on or tips on what they want to share of what they've been doing to prospect and lead gen right now?
I don't really think there's any, to what everyone has said, any real lead generation going on. It's just everyone has the same attitude of, hey, let's ask how our clients are because we genuinely are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Personal note. I mean, we've said it before. You say that you write that personal note. You have a captive audience right now because everyone is super excited to get their mail. I mean, and they see something that is handwritten, they're going to be even more excited. You know why? Because it's not a bill.
Right.
And when they open it up and it says, and it's not going to say anything about COVID or anything. It's just, hey, these trying times, here for you. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Warm regards, Therese. And then I've been giving them a chicken soup recipe in there as well. Just, they might need it, they may not, but it's just something that just says, hey, this is who we are. This is where we are. It's just not appropriate. I've seen a couple things on Facebook and it makes me want to call those people and say, what are you thinking?
Are you talking about like from realtors or just from the regular public?
No, the just listeds and the just sold. I mean, the regular public, you can't really control. They think it's funny to make jokes about certain things. And it's just really not. I mean, look at New York. What's going on in New York right now? They're doubling, tripling, like almost overnight, it seems like. So none of this is a joke.
Right.
People are dying and people are scared. And I think if we just have that come from empathy at this point,
mm-hmm.
We're all feeling it, and they're looking to us like puppy dogs going, what's going on? What do we do?
Right.
A lot of these clients have become our friends, and You know, they don't really know what to do, what to think. Is it right? Is it not? They don't really know. And I think if you're just a friendly voice I even put that in my notes. I'm like, if you just need a friendly voice, call me, you know, just anything.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents. I'm not prospecting per se. And I know that's just a fancy word that we're using to get everyone on the call. Everyone wants to know how we can stay connected. Because we will get through this.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, we will get through this. And are we going to be the agent who was like, boy, she was a slime ball going through all this. All she cared about was finding out when I was going to list my house or whatever. Or do you want to be the one that's, hey, she's the one who was looking, you know, sending me good thoughts and wishing me well. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what we need to focus on. And we're all saying the same thing, just doing it a little bit differently. So, and
Right.
that's my 2 cents. I think we
Yeah.
all feel the same way. Keller Williams is a little bit different than everybody else. And
Right.
most of us are really feeling that we need to be united here, and how can we help? And those are the things that people want to see, how you're helping, what you're doing.
Right. Right. And I agree, Therese. Thanks so much for saying what you did. You know, my approach in this market is to just contact everybody that is in my database and ask how they're doing. You know, just check in on them because, you know, it's all about the relationship, right? So if we're able to just, you know, check in on a person to person level, then that relationship just gets stronger, so that when we do go back to a regular market and they do want to, you know, think about real estate, well, they will have a relationship already based with you, right? And people want to work with people that they know and that they trust. So, you know, we're using the word prospecting and lead gen because that is a concern. You know, people are wondering, how am I going to continue to keep my business going? And so, you know, I think that, you know, that everybody, and it's very evident with our top producing agents who spoke today, that it is about the relationship and they are keeping their clients that they're working with currently. They're taking care of what they need to do for them. They're providing information, and then they're also touching base on a very human level. So if there was anyone else who wanted to share, that would be great to hear. Or if, you know, one of you three wanted to pop in again.
I'll just add that whether it's now or in the future days, you know, with the hopes that we might have some kind of response that we can do some business, maybe with some limitations or some, you know, rules. The other piece of what could occur is that there are people who have a reason for like have to sell or have to buy right now. They exist. And so like it could be, I keep using the Mark example. He has a seller who sold and now they're in a rent back position. You know, they can't even cancel the contract and just lose money somehow through arbitration. Like they need to get out, right? There's real people like that. But there's also like investors who are in the middle of a 1031 exchange and they have to find replacement properties. And so there are things that we can be doing potentially for when this gets lifted.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Rick, any last words?
Right now, most of the attorneys I work with are still working. You know, they're not going to court, obviously, but they're still working on trusts and estate planning and doing the other things that they do from home. And I sent an email to all of them letting them know that, yeah, the times are tough. I hope your families are all safe and you're doing well. But in the event that you need services, remember the title companies are open. The county recorder's office is still open. And if you need anything related to those things, just, you know, call me or shoot me an email and we'll take care of it. And they, you know, most of them sent back something and said, thanks, we appreciate that, you know, because it's, again, a relationship business. If you're still working, then I'm here to support you. And that's basically what I wanted to tell them.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you, Rick. Stefan, do you have any last words before we sign off?
Other than thanks for setting this up, it's been a great call. It's good to see everybody's faces.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. So Stefan, Rick, and Shannon, really appreciate you sharing everything that you did. We have part 3 tomorrow, and that's with Ian Batra, and that has to do with how to market your listings during this market, right? So because some of us do have listings, and so we're going to talk about how to market it. And everybody, thank you so much for taking time to join us. I hope you learned something, and see you the next time. Bye.
Thanks, Edith.
Thank you, Shannon.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks,
Scott, we'll be
everyone.
over a little later for tequila and bidet.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Just
Everybody
bring a
to
bottle.
Scott's house.
Wear a mask.